Mr. Kidwai needs no introduction as such, other than what I know of being a journalist, author, and a political analyst. But he's been there for long. And thank you, Ms. Pamela, for taking your time. She is gladly accepted to be the moderator. So, without sort of taking much time, I leave the floor to them. And I would like to invite from Prabha Khaitan Foundation the gentleman.
My name is Ujjwal Mukherjee. I'm the housemaster and English teacher from Mayo College. So I am a father of 74 kids, which is they are all in my house of various age groups. So we all know why we are here. I'll quickly take you through the background and history of Prabha Khaitan and the work that they do far and wide. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is a Kolkata-based non-profit trust established by late Dr. Prabha Khaitan back in 1980s. Dr. Khaitan was an eminent literature, cultural and social activist who valued the heritage of Indian literature, art and culture. Her vision has guided Prabha Khaitan Foundation to strongly focus on widening the spectrum of literary and cultural world in the society through prized activities and events in more than 60 cities in India and overseas. The foundation believes that literature, music, performing art, painting and other art forms are repositories of a society's collective memory. All creative expressions of art forms are platforms to connect to niche audiences, communicate ideas and create a cultural capital. For the foundation, culture is a kaleidoscope of language, music, literature, visual arts. Eminent literaturists, performing artists, musicians and cultural bigwigs have graced the foundation's multifaceted literary and cultural events. Events that have become landmarks in India and abroad include Kitab for book launches, an author's afternoon, the Right Circle and the Universe Rights dedicated to English literature. Kalam for Hindi literature, Akhar for regional literature, Loves for Urdu, Farsi, Persian, Arabic. Ek Mulakat and Chaupal for meeting of minds and eminent personalities from different walks of life. Sur or Saz for traditional singers and musicians. Chal Chitra, Rang Manch for promoting performing arts and special screening of films. Today, we are extremely happy again to begin our journey in Ajmer with the Right Circle event. The hospitality partner of the event is Hotel Pratap Mahal, about which Sir has already spoken. It is organized in association with the Ehsaas women of Ajmer and we care. Today, we are indeed, goes without saying, happy to have author Mr. Rasheed Kidwai, who is a journalist par excellence. He is a political journalist who will be in conversation with Dr. Pamela Erickson. Kindly allow me quickly brief couple of minutes to take you through a little bit about Dr. Pamela Erickson. And Pamela Erickson will in turn be taking us through the introduction part of the journalist sitting over here who needs some introduction. Dr. Pamela Erickson is a name that resonates with warmth, grace and unbreakable bond with Mayo. Born on the 15th of August, this is very interesting. Born on the 15th of August, a date that itself signifies freedom and new beginnings. She has lived her life as a shining example of vitality and optimism, which we all will be witnessing it very soon. For her age has always been nothing more than just a number. She continues to radiate life, laughter and positivity, proving every day that these simple yet powerful qualities can transform the world around us. But what makes her truly remarkable is her literary soul, a poet of rare sensitivity. She authored the Hindi poetry collection Mere Khwabo Khayalon Ka Gunja, which was recognized by the Sahitya Academy in Udaipur. She is currently reworking this collection, giving it a new voice, while also writing her forthcoming English book, Ajmer Through Her Eyes and Life. A heartfelt journey through the city she holds so dear. Without any further ado, we have a large number of Mayoites, Mayur and MCJS, which is also Mayo, in attendance. So someone was telling me before the show started that there are no, why aren't the Mayo boys here? I said, look around, there's so many Mayo boys around. So without any further delay, I'll hand over the stage to you.
I hope you bear with me And it's a pleasure, Mr. Kidwai, to be talking to you and introducing you. Though I think it's a very difficult thing to introduce a person with all that you have done, and you have so much on your, I must say, plate you have done, that to say one or two things is not the thing, but still we have to keep it short and sweet and simple. And it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be introducing and conversing with Mr. Rasheed Kidwai this evening. He is a media personality who stands tall in the journalistic and literary world, where he has seen and worked with many a great personality. I rather envy him. In the field of Indian politics, films, etc., especially he is an expert in Hindi films. During his career spanning a few decades, a media person, political analyst, biographer, former editor with the Telegraph, commentator, and prolific writer. He's written a number of books. He is a sought-after voice on television and debates, and by many leading publications, because his books have come out in Roli and other things. Quite a number of publications have put out his books. He was born in Lucknow. The family belongs to Daryabad, Barabanki, on the 20th of July, 67. It was a maternal city also. That is a connect we have with each other. मेरा ननिहाल है और आप वहाँ पैदा हुए थे, so not bad. And that is one connect we have in common. His early education was in Anglo-Arabic Senior School, Delhi, and Bharatiya Vidya Mandir, going on to St. Stephen's College, and then to the University of Leicester, UK. And India he got the India Commonwealth Scholarship for doing mass media there. So all this is a very interesting thing. I find it quite a thing that he has had a cosmopolitan sort of a thing, because he went to three different places. And the most interesting part about his school, the early school, is that this is one of the oldest schools, Anglo-Arabic schools in India. It's one of those oldest schools, and it has been there for the last 324 years. It came up in 1696, and it was started by Mughal Subedar by the name of Ghaziuddin Khan Firoz Janguwan. He was, I think, one of the ancestors of the Nawab of Hyderabad. Yes. And so that's a very interesting thing. Then later on, Dr. Zakir Hussain and Maulana Azad, when he was the education minister, they did the thing again and started it off on a, sort of reactivated it in 1951. And ever since, it's a co-educational school and going on. Anyway, that was, I found it this thing because I like it. He has written extensively about political personalities, parties, and the changing landscape and face of democracy in India. He is the author of many acclaimed books, and like 24 Akbar Road, Sonia biography, Ballantyne episodes that have changed India's decades, India's democracy, the House of Scindias, and then Sushil Kumar Shinde, 5 decades. Mohsina Kidwai, Bharat Pradhan Mantri. He has written both in English and Hindi. So it is Bharat के प्रधानमंत्री, जिसमें कि 15 प्रधानमंत्रियों के बारे में आपने लिखा है, and नेता अभिनेता, जिसमें film people who have been associated with politics later on, like they were Vidhan Sabha, Rajya Sabha members and all that. And even they were in active politics, so he has written about them also, and other leaders and politicians, citizens, 50 figures who influenced India's politics. That's another book, and the latest is The Scam That Shook the Nation. You have got it there. It is all about the Nangawala scam, and we have got it on the there. And then, well, I can go on, but that's enough, I think. Enough. It's an extensive resume, I can't just go on and on. But I would like to ask you something very basic actually. You must have answered it a number of times. It's a very obvious, sort of common question, but we in Ajmer don't know all these things. We would like to know the different this thing. What initially drew you to political journalism? As you have been around the scene for a long time, I've seen changes that took place in the present political situation with regard to news reporting, breaking news, endless debates, and which takes place on the TV these days. Never-ending sort of thing goes on. What is your take about that?
Thank you, Dr. Pamela. Thank you for your kind words. First of all, I would want to, from bottom of my heart, thank Prabha Khaitan Foundation for having me here in Ajmer. I would say a holy city, a pious city, a city that is actually a very civilizational, status for every Indian. And I'm also very much happy and pleased to be here at this venue, this Hotel Pratap Mahal Hotel, a lovely place. And friends, I've been to several places and all, but I have not seen or received this kind of warmth that our friend Mr. Devendra is here. Why don't you take a seat, sir? And he's been a picture of courtesy, old world charm, and so it shows that hospitality industry, why in Rajasthan it is, I would say, world famous. And I'm indeed very honored and privileged that we have Pratapji himself here, who has created this property from literally from scratch. So thank you very much, sir, for creating this and putting it in very good hands. And I will always say this hotel. Normally, hotel is where you come and stay, but here the hotel has a life of its own. So you can actually be whole day, you can be here or days together. A person like me, who's a writer, and get the best of everything. So thank you, sir. I would want to specifically thank. Ma'am, you have used very sort of lavishly, very kind words about me or my work. Friends, when I was traveling, because I studied in England, and many years later when I went again, so I was going in a train. So a Britisher was sitting next to me, and out of curiosity, he asked me, he said, "What do you do?" So I told him, "I'm a journalist, a writer." So he was having a can of beer, and he said, "Oh, so you are a pen pusher." So friends, I'm a pen pusher. So in Britain, people, we look at Britain as someone which is a very, again, a huge civilizational thing, and but very few people actually go for higher education. Only 14% or so go beyond what we know as 12th or so. We do far more, number of graduation and master and PhD, etc. In Britain, people don't study; they just do A level, O level, and they find job, and they're very happy with that. So that's the thing. Ma'am, you have asked me a number of questions, and I think I would want to, first of all, friends, I would want it to become a samvad, not a, in that sense, Shastra. We have an English tradition of Shastra also, but I think Shastra is something. Okay, I'm not capable to do that, but yes, samvad, we can have a dialogue. So please feel free to ask questions, and after some interaction, we'll do that. I think that will be much better. See, everything goes for a change in our country. And so you look at the quality of politics, you look at the quality of media, it's actually technology is playing a role, and no other factors are there. Things are not same in every decade or every time things change. You asked me specifically, I remember why I chose this profession. Actually, my father was from Indian Economic Service, and he was very keen that I should appear for IAS. And I remember the day I was to go for a prelim exam, I got an assignment to travel with the chief of army staff. So I didn't appear for exam, and my father was very upset. But later, he was very happy that I chose not to join civil services. But it's a passion. I was discussing with Devendra today. See, hospitality is also a passion. Not everyone is this. Teaching, sir, Mr. Mukherjee, teaching is a passion. So in life, when I see a lot of young minded children are there, I would always say that don't go by what sort of society tells, in terms of course, she's a doctor, I mean doctor, engineer, Pratap sir is being an engineer, so doctor, engineer, all this. But then everybody cannot be, so do whatever you feel like. मतलब आप अपने दिल की सुने, खासतौर से आज के ज़माने में when technology is playing a very big role, degrees are becoming very, I would say insignificant. जब हमने पढ़ाई की था तो टेबल याद करना मतलब जो पहाड़ी उसको हिंदी में कहते थे पहाड़ी याद करना स्पेलिंग याद करना now all these things lot of it is becoming redundant. There is no use because there is a auto spell check and correction and similarly all those things in the split of second a lot of computing and calculation takes place. So you must develop what is the core competence in some area, and in journalism also one of the major reasons why journalism in India with its TV operates is facing problem because earlier journalism was known as ability to inform and educate and entertain. Now that has gone beyond this thing of journalism. Anybody who has a mobile phone in hand, has a social media and access to the world. So you are not dependent on me. What was there 15 years ago that what I will write in newspaper, in the English newspaper, you will read from that. Now you get to know something happens. Next day you read newspaper just for explanation. What was the reason? Why suddenly Operation Sindhu stopped? Why Iran and America they were fighting again? So we look for larger or budget क्या दिया है? We look at newspaper as an explainer. I always say today, if something happens, the first half an hour, Twitter or what we know as X now is most important because it tells you in real time what has happened. When anything happened, when Osama bin Laden was caught, there was no newspaper or no network, even American, CNN or Fox, or nobody came up with the news. The news came from a doctor in a waterball who was at 4 o'clock, he was awake and he saw some helicopters were there and then he saw that some action is taking place and that's how world came to know that Osama bin Laden has been caught. So, media has become a secondary player. We are there to explain. Now, many people in media do not understand. The second part of this, I deal with it, we are talking about noisy, a newsroom and all. देखिए मैंने mass communication as a discipline पढ़ा है. Media and to your mind, you will be surprised or a little upset what I want to say next. Media is not a change agent. Media, by the nature of it, is status quoist. It, perpetuates the existing belief system. मतलब आप जो चीजें जानना जो आप लोग जो कहते हैं सही है उसी को वो करता है. तो इसीलिए you see media always gives an exaggerated version of events. You look at all the TV serials and films and web series, etc. But just look at women. Women are shown always an extreme, either they're very good or they're very bad. Very few TV serials or OTTs or films show women as sort of mainstream, balanced, having a mix of everything. So characters are shown in a good or bad light. So that's how media does. And we have WhatsApp University in a way, not the university, but so this actually, so why is it clicking? Otherwise, if there was, so because it's close to our belief system, there are some very basic, instincts we have, and social media is connecting to that. Someone was telling me about that why Dubai is so successful in 2017, and it's really great. He says, you see, human mind is quite, of course, it's very adventurous, and of course, it's very, like we say, greedy. At the same time, it is very diabolic also. But he was telling me that, in monarchy, it controls people's sort of, these kind of negative instincts. In democracy, everyone is allowed to have, so now with technology, democracy is coming under threat because people think me, myself, my community, my people, my region, my country, whichever labeling you want to say, is right and all others are wrong. And therefore, that's a major challenge. So these are the provocative remarks. I will end this so that we start more.
You're right, I think, in many respects, because what you said, that nowadays we are becoming more like me and mine and ours, whatever it is. So I think from that we can go ahead to, as we are talking to a political journalist, so we'll talk about something. And what do you think? what do you interpret actually today's, how do you interpret it, today's opposition strategies against the ruling party?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question, मैम. देखिए जो लोगों ने शतरंज पता नहीं खेली है नहीं, जो लोग शतरंज खेलते हैं उन्हें पता है कि वो what is a game in chess, it's a share और मार का खेल होता है. So there people are always trying to sort of control and capture one another. I always say very few of you would know, and particularly many youngsters are there, so I want to tell you, we had first election in 1951-52 elections, and you know, when the country had a first recognized opposition leader of opposition, like today Rahul Gandhi is, we had it in 1969. So imagine from 1951, and what is the LOP, leader of opposition? Is a Lok Sabha, we have a 543 member. Anybody who gets more than 10% of seats. So anybody who is getting 55 parliamentary seats or so, we get a status of LOP. So imagine from 1951-52 till 1969. And 1969 also, ma'am, we had leader of opposition because the Congress split. So there was a division in Congress against Indira Gandhi. So a breakaway Congress person became a LOP, that leader of opposition by which award at that point of time. So point I'm saying that the opposition at that time, which was anti-Nehru, anti-Congress, which consists of Bharatiya Janata, the left parties, and socialist groups, etc., they waited for almost 20 years in opposition. And after that, Indira Gandhi era came, and Indira Gandhi, as my friends and young friends would know, she was Prime Minister for 16 years. And she lost in between for 2-3 years, but her overall, again, it was not that the quality of opposition was not good. There were many touting people like Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Charan Singh, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Jyoti Basu, several of them were there. It's just that they could not control or check or overcome, politically speaking, overpower. मतलब वो इंदिरा गांधी को मार नहीं दे पाए. So what we are seeing today is that now there is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is there for almost now 11 years, 12 years. So opposition, it's not that the opposition is not good or not powerful, from Mamata Banerjee to Akhilesh Yadav to a number of people, but they are not getting their act together the way the earlier opposition in earlier era was. So therefore it's very difficult. I remember in one of the books I read, Indira Gandhi, when she was out of power, so her friend was Gopal Jacker, a very well-known person.
Yes,
so Gopal ji, so she said कि अब धीरे रखो, आएगा. तो Indira Gandhi would get very restless. आखिर कब? No, this is the problem. So Indian opposition is also getting very restless. This is I have given a theoretical, but on a more serious note, to respond to Dr. Pamela, I think this is very unfortunate because in democracy, opposition has as much space as the ruling party or the ruling coalition and those who are in power. Now there is a lot of trust deficit, and the kind of labeling that is done. So opposition is constantly dubbed as anti-national, and as if we are indulging in anti-national activity. And there I have a slight disagreement, friends, that you may criticize the opposition, but you cannot accuse the opposition of being anti-national. बोलते ना, George Soros का वो है, ecosystem है, these kind of things are said. Rahul Gandhi is acting on behalf of China, America, all kind of things. Even this Operation Sindoor, the kind of language I saw from both sides, it was, I would not say one side, it was very destructive, because as a nation we need to have maturity. Because there is, friends, we must understand, there is Indian state, जो हमारा भारतीय गणराज्य है, उसके प्रति मेरी आस्था और समर्पण की भावना वो 100% है, absolute, that is non-negotiable. I am a citizen of India and my full loyalty is to my country, देश के लिए. लेकिन मेरी पूरी लॉयल्टी या समर्पण का भाव भारत सरकार के लिए हो सकता है और नहीं भी हो सकता है. That is my choice. So the government of India and what is doing today, that the line between the Indian state and government of India is sought to be blurred. So if you criticize the government, it is seen as a criticism of country. And friends, because most of you are very highly educated achievers, and you have deep roots in society, and of course the young mind was studying. That's why I'm deliberating these things here. That there is no easy answer, but this is something we need to address seriously, because if you criticize, then criticism should be well taken, rather than being seen as some anti. And if there is anti-national, then that person should be in jail, not in sitting in Lok Sabha or holding a leader of opposition. So when we accuse, suppose somebody is accusing me of something, either you prove, it's a process of natural justice also, or we should not say it. So we have मतलब मतभेद होना पॉलिटिक्स में होना चाहिए, but difference of opinion. But हमारे यहाँ मतभेद है. We have become opposition and government have become like sworn enemy, and I think both of them are to be so to say to be blamed. आप लोग अगर मेरी कोई किताबें पढ़े हैं, आप इंटरनेट गूगल करके देखें, तो मैंने उसमें बहुत से किस्से कहानी लिखी. जस्ट एक मिनट में बताओ कि अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी थे, और ये खुद उन्होंने उनका देखिए बड़प्पन कितना था, और इसीलिए हम कहते हैं कि पुराने लोग अच्छे थे. तो इसलिए नहीं कहते कि पुराना जमाना अच्छा था, पुराने जमाने में बहुत चैलेंजेस थे. लेकिन अटल जी की महानता देखिए, जब राजीव गांधी का असैसिनेशन हुआ 1991 में, तो अटल जी लोकसभा के सदस्य, और उन्होंने वहाँ ऑब्वियसली उन्होंने कहा कि उसके सदन में डिस्कशन हो रहा था, एंड आई वाज प्रेजेंट, सो आई गॉट इट एंड आई फेल्ट वेरी गुड अबाउट. सो ही सेड कि देखिए, मैं यहाँ पर आज मैं जीवित हूँ, अटल जी तो बढ़ता, आज मैं जीवित हूँ तो राजीव गांधी की वजह से जीवित हूँ. तो पीपुल वाज सरप्राइज्ड. ही सेड कि देखिए 1984-85 में, जैसे आपको पता होगा, ग्वालियर में अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी हार गए थे माधव सिंह से वो इलेक्शन, और अटल जी मतलब मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट नहीं थे, और उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, बीच में वेरी सीरियस उस टाइम यहाँ पर हमारे देश में उसका ट्रीटमेंट नहीं था. तो राजीव गांधी को पता चला, तो राजीव गांधी ने उनको क्या कहा कि यूएन का डेलीगेशन जा रहा था, यूएन इज लोकेटेड इन अमेरिका. सो राजीव गांधी ने उनको डेलीगेट बना के भेज दिया, और अटल जी से धीरे से कहा कि आप वहाँ जाके अपना इलाज भी करा लीजिएगा, महीने 2 महीने बाद आइएगा. मैंने वहाँ जो एम्बेसडर है उनसे कह दिया, और अटल जी के इलाज हुआ और वापस आ गए. अब ये बात राजीव गांधी को पता थी और अटल जी को. राजीव गांधी गुजर गए, अब अटल जी चाहते तो नहीं बताते. तो इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि उनकी बड़ी महानता थी, और ये बड़प्पन फ्रेंड्स, दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज, सो आई होल्ड दीस थिंग्स इन अ वेरी हाई रिगार्ड. तो पर्पस ऑफ मी राइटिंग बुक्स इज टू इंक्रीज दैट अवेयरनेस. मैं हमेशा लोगों से कहता हूँ कि आप वॉशिंग मशीन खरीदने जाते हैं, तो हम देखते हैं कि फ्रंट लोडिंग अच्छा है या टॉप लोडिंग अच्छा है, उसकी हम रिपोर्ट्स देखते हैं दुनिया भर की, या कोई भी फ्रिज टीवी देखने जाते हैं, हम उसकी बड़ी बारीकी से अध्ययन करते हैं. जब हम वोट डालने जाते हैं, आई एम सॉरी, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट यू पर्टिकुलर, बट जनरल, वोट हम जो है या तो भावना या उसमें आकर के, ये बहुत ही नॉन सीरियस मैनर में हमारी वोटिंग होती है. आप लोगों से पूछ गया हो कैसे होता है, महिलाओं मतलब आई एम नॉट बीइंग अगेन नॉट पॉलिटिकल थिंग, 200 रुपये महिलाओं को मिल रहे हैं, 500 रुपये मिल रहे हैं, उसके लिए वोट दिया जा रहा है. दिस इज वोट ऑक्शनिंग, दिस इज नॉट हाउ डेमोक्रेसी फंक्शन. तो ये हमारे देश में बहुत बड़े सारे चैलेंजेस हैं. एक और बस मैं आपकी बात से खत्म करूँगा. एक अभी हमने ORF नाम का संस्थान है दिल्ली में, ऑब्जर्वर रिसर्च फाउंडेशन, उसमें हमने 24 के चुनाव का 2024 का जो लोकसभा का चुनाव हुआ उसका हमने स्टडी किया वेस्टमिंस्टर यूनिवर्सिटी इंग्लैंड के साथ में. एंड फ्रेंड, इट पेन्स मी टू टेल यू, हमारा अंदाजा जब कि होता है लोकसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए 75 लाख रुपए का खर्चे की सीमा होती है, 75 lakhs. In assembly it is 45 lakh. You know how much money was spent in 24 Lok Sabha election by all political parties? Election Commission says 5,700 crores. Our study says the money was again I repeat, 1,32,000 crores. 1,32,000 crore rupees was spent. So उसको हमने और डिवाइड किया पर वोट, where we are sitting in Rajasthan, पर वोट एवरेज है इसका, मतलब वो नहीं है कि ऐसा बाजार में MRP है. पर वोट कॉस्ट वाज 3,000 rupees in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, in that region, Central India कहते हैं. Friends, what would the cost of a per vote in Tamil Nadu, in Telangana? Anybody wants to guess?
8. I did this.
8. She definitely right. 8,000 rupees per vote. 1 ग्राम सोना, मतलब उस टाइम सोने की कीमत 1 ग्राम सोना. So this is such a, we need to ponder over these things, that why, and therefore it's not, we can keep changing, Congress, BJP, Samajwadi, Janata Dal, this party, that party, left party, but we have a very, corrupt political system, and that should, cause worry, because nobody can fight election unless you have, 5, 10, crores at least to start with. इसीलिए मैं भास्कर में मतलब पढ़ाने जाता हूँ, क्योंकि वहाँ पर होता है कि विधायक जो है ठेकेदारों में सवाल पूछ रहा है, जनता का सवाल पूछते हैं, तो ठेकेदार ने उसको पैसा दिया है तो ठेकेदार से सवाल पूछते हैं. So these are, sorry, I don't want to sound very cynical, but I thought we must talk about this so that we have a level of discussion.
Actually, what he said was that you pointed out the difference between being a person, हम national, अपने nation के बारे में, हमारा राष्ट्रवाद जो है वो हमारे देश के लिए, and दूसरी चीज़ है the political part of it, the government. So there is a difference. हम सब हिंदुस्तानी हैं, हमारा जितना, at least for myself I can say कि जितना प्यार मुझे अपनी धरती, अपनी जन्मभूमि, अपनी जगह से है, वो भी कोई नहीं सकता. I've been outside, I've seen places much more beautiful, but then this is the place. ये हमारी जगह है और हम बड़े गर्व से कह सकते हैं कि it's a very very place. जहाँ पे कि हर किस्म के, हर जिस तरीके के, मतलब हमारे यहाँ जितने लोग, जितने किस्म की डिफरेंट कल्चर्स, धर्म सब साथ में रहते हैं, ये हमारी एक विशेषता है जो और कहीं नहीं मिलेगी आपको. There may be people with different things, but not like India. So there is a difference when it comes to it. जब ये सब बोल रहे हैं आजकल, आपको देशद्रोही है जो कुछ भी, तो फर्क है. There is a difference between talking about the government. Government is something different. We are being governed by people. But then our desh, our country is ours, and that is the difference between the two of them. I rather like that idea. And again the same thing comes, what are the ethical challenges faced by the political journalists today? Okay, there must be quite a challenging thing to be talking. And how do you deal with the pressure of it?
So I think, again, a British journalist had once told me, so I actually believe...
the painful shut.
So he said something very interesting to me. He said, look, nothing is simple in India. If you look at some of the parameters, we are not doing well. We are struggling in many methods in terms of poverty. I mean, as Prime Minister himself says, कि हम 88 करोड़ लोगों को मतलब लोग खाना खिला रहे हैं. मतलब in the sense that is a food subsidy that goes to 86 crore people. It's a colossal figure. 86 crore would mean many nations will come together in the. तो एक तो ये हमारी कैपेसिटी है कि हम 86 करोड़ लोगों को खाना खिला पा रहे हैं. But if you look at the other hand, this also says that how after 79 years of independence, we see 86 crore people are depending on government subsidy. They are getting subsidized food. So that is something that should disturb us. So that is the point I am saying, that nothing is simple in India. And that British journalist friend of mine had said that whatever you say about India, the opposite is equally true. Think about it. Just seriously सोचिएगा. So this is also very important. Do we have freedom? Yes. But we also have a lot of instances of intolerance, injustice, some kind of very toxic quality. We have very good things. We have very bad. Somebody does a sort of Facebook post, that person is arrested. We have a very low tolerance we don't have that kind of sense of humor. You look at the comedians and stand-up satirists being arrested and jailed and all kind of things happen. So there are not, and media, if you allow me, is a, जैसे कहा भी जाता है ना कि साहित्य समाज का दर्पण है. So media somewhere mirrors that kind of wrongs that are there in society. What is media doing? I mean, I'm talking more about electronic media. It is actually saying about people want. So there is no middle ground. They say that if you talk to any, the so to say TV channel heads and all, I know most of them very, at personal level, they all say, ये तो हम तो वही दिखाते हैं जो public देखना चाहती है. So therefore, and everybody has a remote. We keep, complaining about, the kind of television news we have, and some of it is very disturbing. Because I always say, bias is something which is inherent. Is inherent. हर आदमी की अपनी like dislike होती है. Because those of you who study sociology or want to study sociology, there is something known as inherent bias. Process of socialization होता है, जिस माहौल में बड़े होते हैं, जिस समाज में हमारा जन्म होता है, जो हमारी आस्था होती है, it reflects somewhere. But at the same time, we also, God has given us a sort of with this ability to distinguish what is right and what is wrong, what is correct, nothing about what is ethical, what is moral, all kind of judgment we have here, free will. And that is very important, so we need to exercise that. So unfortunately, sometimes that is not being exercised, but I think this is a more of a societal challenge rather than a political challenge or a media challenge. क्योंकि देखिए सब न्यूज़पेपर सारे फल फूल रहे हैं। मैंने एक बार राहुल गांधी से भी कहा, मैंने इस बात की, मैंने वो कहते थे मीडिया, तो मैंने कहा मीडिया में क्या हुआ है, बट देयर इज one newspaper at least against the government from, if you start from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, everywhere, even in Gujarat, there is a paper called Gujarat Samachar which is bitterly opposed to Prime Minister Modi and the BJP, and it's flourishing there. There have been a lot of CBI and all raid and all, but nothing has happened. So every look at the Dainik Bhaskar, there are a lot of publications are there all over the country who are actually have a very anti-government instance, and so there is a lot of opposition. The difference sometimes you see in seats, but in terms of you look at the vote percentage of political parties, that is not changing much. It's the outcome. Like even in Rajasthan, we see it's a very narrow election that takes place between two political parties. This is a matter of, because we have a system of first past the post system, so therefore there are differences. So political differences or political diversity will always be there. It is quite desirable. We should not be much disturbed, but this criminality and this toxic sort of presence, that should be weeded out. We must become more citizen-centric. Okay, which is what and I'm just saying here not to criticize anybody. We are talking about one nation, one election, and of course it looks good because why not? Until 1967 there used to be one nation, one election only. I mean, this is the parliament and assembly. So in principle it's alright. But you will be surprised, there are over 5, and it's a staggering figure, again I am repeating, there are over 5,000 municipal corporations and Jilla Parishads where elections have not taken place. Over 5,000. Now why? So if a nation we cannot have a municipal elections in 5,000 places, then what are we saying about one nation, one election? So this needs to be talked and debated, and we don't have a very strong citizenry. जो हम प्रेशर नहीं होता हमारे यहाँ, हम चाहते हैं हर चीज जो लोकसभा का सांसद है या विधानसभा का जो विधायक है वो करे. We don't look at the the municipal the corporator, because the corporator it is his or her priority to set things right in terms of sadak bijli pani. The job of a member of parliament is to make laws, not to promote the constituency. I am saying unpopular thing. During the time of Jawaharlal Nehru, and a decade till that, I have been to VP Singh was the Prime Minister, Hotel Pratap Mahal. They were very underdeveloped. So he was, or Nehru never cared about poor. But today it is considered as a very big achievement if a member of parliament or a prime minister or a minister cultivates that constituency. The prime minister is a prime minister of India. Minister is a minister for entire India. A member of parliament is also a member of parliament of India. So public constituency, I am saying something unpopular, but friends, when you ponder over it, you will think about it. It's not a good thing to do just please a few thousand or few lakh people and get elected. That was not what constitution is all about.
I think finally जो मेरे समझ में आया कि our country is like a cauldron in which lot of different things are there, and एक समुद्र मंथन टाइप चीज हो जाए कभी तो उसमें से we may come out with something nicer, and we do go on coming out with many things which are good also, but at the present a little difficulty is there. I hope we will get out of it because we are survivors. We have always done the best to our country and our things. So I think, as you are saying, we will do one day very nicely.
No, my idea is not to put a pessimistic picture. There are a lot of good things are also happening.
That's what I'm thinking.
In terms of economy, in terms of you look at our soft power. India is a major thing. The amount of TV serials and cinema globally. Friends, once Nehru went to USSR the whole time, and he met Joseph Stalin. So Joseph Stalin asked Nehru something which Nehru was not aware of. So he could not understand that whole import. So he came back to India and he called his friend Prithviraj Kapoor, who was a great actor. So he said, Prithviraj, what has your son done? Stalin was talking about it, vagabond. What is this Avara business? So Prithviraj Kapoor laughed and he said, there is a movie, उससे फिल्म आने ये आवारा और वो बड़ी वहाँ रशिया में बहुत ज़्यादा चल रही है. Then Nehru also had a hearty laugh. So I'm saying, so India had a lot of goodwill. I mean, Egypt and people were still talking about Amitabh Bachchan. So I mean, they don't know that modern so many people, but they are still into this thing. I went to Algeria, where very few people knew about India, but you know, and in Algeria there is a wedding. When the wedding takes place, it's a 7-day wedding, and every day a bride wears a new cloth. And so one of the days she wears a sari, and sari goes for Banaras. So they know very little.
That's interesting.
That is what I'm saying. So that way, you know, India as a nation, we are a great thing. And I was just trying to give, because the youngsters are there, so I was trying to provoke, my friends. This is not to spell negativity. So we are doing very good. But again, there is always a quest for perfection and better things. Because देखिए एक सोसाइटी की सबसे बड़ा फाउंडेशन ये होती है सेंस ऑफ जस्टिस, इंसाफ होना चाहिए, और उसी का ही बड़ा वैल्यूमीटर होता है. कल ही मैं पेपर में पढ़ रहा था कि हमारे देश में अगर 4 लाख लोग जेल में हैं, उसमें से 3 लाख अंडर ट्रायल है. मतलब आप सब जानते हैं मुलजिम और मुजरिम का डिफरेंस. सो अक्यूज्ड एंड कन्विक्टेड. नाउ दिस इज वेरी सैड. Actually, none of us have had dealing with courts, but 3 जगह से लोग बहुत घबराते जाने में. अस्पताल से जाने से डरते हैं, और वेरियस रीजन, पुलिस स्टेशन और थाने से. तो इतना जो हमारा ये तो भी है ना, मतलब इन दैट सेंस वी नीड टू थिंक अबाउट दैट कि क्यों ये 4 में से 3 लोग जो हैं करंटली स्पीकिंग बेगुनाह हैं लेकिन जेल में. So this is something that should disturb us, and I am saying this because we need to think about all these things.
I have gone to Egypt. I also went to Egypt one long time back. And there I was so proud of the thing that when we were in Alexandria and walking on the seafront, and there suddenly a number of young people came and they said, "Are you from India?" So I said, "Yes." And they said, "Do you know Akshay Kumar? Do you know Amitabh? Do you know Salman Khan? Do you know Shah Rukh?" I said, "No, I don't know, but I've seen their movies. Naturally, I don't know. We love them." And then they suddenly somebody started some music, and it was all one of Shah Rukh Khan's or someone's this thing, and उसके ऊपर they all started dancing. So I was so taken up and so proud of the fact कि इमेजिन करो वहाँ पे लोग जो है वो इतने खुश हो रहे हैं सुन के. अनदर एक मैं बेथलेहम में थी और वहाँ पे आई हर्ड दिस सॉन्ग, सलमान खान का एक गाना था, भूल गए, बड़े जोरों में बज रहा है. कहीं कहाँ बज रहा है, हिंदी गाना कहीं बज रहा है. बड़ी भीड़ थी एक जगह, देखो कि सब डांस कर रहे थे उस गाने पे. तो आई आस्क्ड देम, डू यू नो एनीथिंग, मतलब व्हाट? दे सेड, नो, बट यू टेल अस. So I told them, I translated the thing to them, and they were my friend. So what he is saying is कि हिंदुस्तान का कितना इफेक्ट है चारों तरफ, तो we should be happy and make it more, I think. And इस बात से मुझे याद है कि आपने नेता अभिनेता की किताब लिखी है, and you must be having quite a lot of stories to tell us about those kind of things also. And दूसरी चीज जो है कि वो who impressed you the most? ये वाला क्वेश्चन.
देखिए, मैंने एक किताब लिखी called नेता अभिनेता, the Bollywood star power in Indian politics. I have only taken those who became members of parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, because I felt that there are certain misgivings are there about politicians, film stars who become politicians, because many of us see them as some kind of non-serious. हमें लगता है कि वो अपना एक स्टार्ट पे उसकी वो जीत गए, जैसे गोविंदा, and many of such names are there. But I tried to study them and I wrote a book that these people also have a very a high level of sincerity and interest and they want to actually also contribute for society. So a number of them actually left a deep mark, but I would definitely want to mention Sunil Dutt. And Sunil Dutt was one actor who had a lot of social commitment. जब साथियों जब 1962 और 65 की लड़ाई हुई थी और जिनको पता है वो दोनों लड़ाइयाँ हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल लड़ाइयाँ थी. They were under very difficult and challenging circumstances. 71 war was a cakewalk for us, but 65 was very tough war and we were not ready, and so was, 62 was very difficult war and 65 was also good. So this Sunil Dutt used to take a lot of troupe of film actors and actresses and Lataji and all of them, they used to go to border areas to motivate our jawans. And he would do it without getting Ajanta Arts or like his company. He would do it without getting anything in recognition. कि हमें टीवी पे मौका मिलेगा या हमारी वाहवाही होगी अखबार में फोटो चलेगी. No. So they used to go from this Firozpur region to up to JNK, all those places to motivate and our northeast front when China war was there. But no, he led a huge Padhyatra in Punjab, and Punjab was undergoing a lot of separatism and terrorism. So he provided a lot of healing touch when Mumbai was having a lot of communal disturbances. So he got all those people out, film actors, to उसने वहाँ यात्रा निकाली क्योंकि as we know film actors are rewarded like by everybody. So इस तरह से लगता है कि उनका बहुत social commitment है. शत्रुघ्न सिन्हा, विनोद खन्ना, he did lot for his own constituency in Gurdaspur. When he came in politics, and in fact Sunil Dutt, Vinod Khanna and Shत्रुघ्न Sinha, they all became ministers also. So as ministers also their performance was, there were people with responsibility. Nargis Dutt was a very good person with a lot of social cause and commitment. तो वो लोग जो थे और नरगिस ने जो था फिल्म में जब उन्होंने शादी कर ली सुनील दत्त से तो उन्होंने फिल्मों में काम करना छोड़ दिया. उनके पीछे बड़े लोग लगे थे. तो एक साउथ के एक फिल्म डायरेक्टर थे तो उन्होंने लाके उनको ब्लैंक चेक दिया कि इसमें आप जो भी अमाउंट भरना चाहें भर लीजिए और फिल्मों में काम करना तो वापस. बट नरगिस रिटर्न दैट चेक and she said कि I don't want to act in film. But when she became later on she became मतलब ऐसी in a friendly way. I don't want to sound misogynistic, but she was like little this thing about Sunil Dutt. उन्हें लगता था कि Sunil Dutt को बाकी जो फिल्म एक्ट्रेसेस वगैरह हैं तो Sunil Dutt एक्टिंग कर रहे थे वो हाउस वाइफ हो गई कि उनके ऊपर कुछ sorry to be using that negative word डोरे डाल रही है. तो क्या करती थी Sunil Dutt के टिफिन में जो सब्जी बनती थी उसमें लहसुन प्याज पेस्ट कर देती थी. Sunil Dutt के मुंह से बदबू वो आएगा लोग So we did have tried to put a lot of anecdotes and stories about it rather than just a thing. मेरी एक और किताब में आप लोगों से निवेदन करूँगा कि जरूर देखिए अगर आपको मौका मिले. I'm not promoting my book, but it's called मतलब भारत के प्रधानमंत्री, जहाँ पर मैंने हिंदी में लिखी इसलिए क्योंकि मुझे लगा कि लोगों को बहुत सारी भ्रांतियाँ हैं. There are many misgivings about former prime minister. So it's about all 14 prime ministers and 15 one was Gurzari Lal Nanda ji, who was a caretaker prime minister twice. So friends, I realized and through my academic study, an anecdotal thing, it's not that all prime ministers were well-meaning. किसी को समय कम मिला, जैसे चरण सिंह को या चंद्रशेखर जी को 4 महीने 8 महीने, इंद्र कुमार गुजराल, देवी गौड़ा, इन लोगों को कम समय मिला. और कुछ लोगों को जैसे नेहरू को बहुत समय मिला, इंदिरा गांधी को बहुत समय मिला, मनमोहन सिंह 10 साल रहे, मोदी जी 11 साल के हैं, पीवी नरसिम्हा राव 5 साल के रहे और राजीव गांधी भी 5 साल रहे. कुछ लोगों को कम समय मिला लेकिन हर आदमी ने अपने अपने समय कोई कोशिश की थोड़ी. एक बस मैं आपको उदाहरण देना चाहूँगा तो इंदिरा गांधी जो थी ये लोग इंद्र कुमार गुजराल जो है आई.के. गुजराल में नो ही वाज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंड ही इज सीन एज मेनी पीपल से दैट ही वाज अ वीक प्राइम मिनिस्टर. बट आई हैव रिटन इन माय बुक कि एक बार जो गुजराल साहब जो भारत के राजदूत थे एम्बेसडर थे टू यूएसएसआर, इंदिरा गांधी वहाँ पर नहीं. सो व्हेन इंदिरा गांधी वेंट टू सी प्रेसिडेंट ब्रेजनेव ऑफ यूएसएसआर, ब्रेजनेव वाज अ वेरी टावरिंग person who actually overran Afghanistan in 1980. So 79-80. So he was there. Suddenly Indira Gandhi noticed during the conversation that President was constantly looking at Gujral Sahab. He was wearing a watch like you were wearing watch. He was looking at his watch with a lot of interest. सो इंदिरा गांधी को लगा कि प्रेसिडेंट को ये घड़ी चाहिए, तो उन्होंने धीरे से उसको हिंदी में बोला कि इसको घड़ी उतार के दे दो। गुजराल साहब ऐसे ठिठक के वो गए, नहीं बोलो। तो बात चलती गई, 15-20 मिनट बाद इंदिरा गांधी बाहर निकली, शी वाज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया एंड शी वाज वेरी शी सेड इंदिरा कुमार, उससे बोली थी घड़ी दे दो। अब लुक एट व्हाट इंदिरा कुमार गुजराल सेड कि मैडम मैं भारत गणराज्य का राजदूत हूँ, मेरा आत्मसम्मान गवारा नहीं करता कि मैं किसी को ऐसे अपनी घड़ी उतार के भेंट करूँ। सी लुक एट दैट मैन्स कैरेक्टर। बाद में उन्होंने HMT की घड़ी दी, उन्होंने HMT की घड़ी दी, उसकी 5 घड़ियों का सेट जा करके एज एन इंडियन एम्बेसडर टू USSR ही प्रेजेंटेड टू द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ USSR सर्विस देयर। सो आई एम सेइंग दिस इज द कैरेक्टर। So you cannot say a sweeping statement that he was a weak prime minister. He was not a weak prime minister. He did take very little time in the coalition government. I am not holding a brief for Mr. Gujral, but I am just point I am saying is that there are a lot of, I would say, there were people with a lot of heft. Chandrasekhar was a very interesting prime minister. He got very little time, but he was a very strong prime minister and a very person of very. He tried very hard actually. If he had was a prime minister, the whole dispute, I don't want to get into detail, but dispute related to Ram Mandir and the Babri Masjid, he was about to resolve it amicably. In fact, one of the reasons people say why Rajiv Gandhi sort of toppled him, because he didn't want Chandrasekhar to get some kind of positivity. So there are a lot of interesting phases are there in our polity. So therefore I thought that I should document it and read it for the benefit of young generation.
And that, I think, is the thing that we should be reading more books and not only the Google thing or the things we read most of the time on the what do you call it, the mobile. आजकल मोबाइल में पढ़ाई होती है, बाकी की जो है वो खत्म हो गई। किताबें, especially बच्चों, you should start reading books. Books are the things which will give you the proper thought process, which which forms our thinking from the very beginning. And another thing what I wanted to know was that सबसे ज़्यादा जो thing which you have written a number of biographies. Now, whose biography were you very interested in writing?
I think every politician. I think हमारे यहाँ तो ये बात है, हमारे यहाँ पर जो biographies are not written about living politicians. You may see a lot of biographies of Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi and all the people of past, Arvindo Ghosh, a number of them, Subhash Chandra Bose. But we need to have biographies, independent account of people who are living and who are there in politics. Because actually, why people don't like? Because politicians don't like any criticism. Like I read a book called The House of Sindhyas. So House of Sindhyas is actually a very everything is source based and so to say evidence based. But the Sindhya family has not liked because of some references are there which are critical of them. Like 1857, their role in. Now this is a thing of a past. Veer Savarkar has written against it, that Subhadra Chauhan, that famous poet, she wrote about it. A lot of people have written it. So these are the phases of things. But I write essentially, friends, for readers. Because readers must know, the kind of choice they are making or the kind of politicians they have. So everything is a challenge. I have tried to write the thing about how you are talking about leader, politicians, citizens. It's about 50 people. It has very interesting characters like Phulan Devi, Chandra Swami, and of course it has APJ Kalam and Indira Gandhi and Sheikh Abdullah and many of others. So it would interest you. If you allow me, I can just give you one example of two examples actually. One from Phulan and
I was just going to say.
Okay. So Phulan Devi jo thi, I have seen her as a member of parliament. She had a very childlike innocence. She was a hardcore criminal, I would assume, in the eyes of law, and of course she surrendered arms and she became. तो वो बड़े मतलब एक उनमें बच्चों की तरह एक जोश और enthusiasm. Unfortunately, she was assassinated. She was killed. So she became member of parliament from Bholpur. And friends, I went to cover the election from Bhadoi, Mirzapur area. And there I saw that number of people, it was afternoon and thousands of people were walking just to hear her. So I realized कि हम जिसको मतलब बुरा समझे या नेगेटिव समझे इसका कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि जनमानस में भी वो इतना बुरा हो. And she won not once but she won twice and she was very popular. So एक बार फूलन देवी पे कोई फ्रेंच फिल्म मेकर को फिल्म बना रहे थे. उन्होंने फूलन देवी जी को जो था वहाँ पेरिस बुलाया. फूलन देवी चली गई. अब एक दिन वो जा रही थी पेरिस में गाड़ी में और अभी तो जा रही थी एकदम से उन्होंने देखा कि कहीं रास्ते में पेरिस की सड़क के ऊपर वो मिल रहा था. ये सब खरबूजा कहते हैं. हाँ मस्कमेलन. अब वो फैल गई. उन्होंने ड्राइवर को जल्दी से जोर से बोला रोको रोको. देयर वाज एन इंटरप्रेटर. तो उसने बोला रोको गाड़ी. शी वाज इन रोल्स. शी गॉट ऑफ और वहाँ से खरबूजा. एंड देन सो यू सी दैट पर्सन दैट यू नो सो many of you of course would be having Alexa, would be having Rolls Royce and all those things. So there is a proper, so to say, that driver or pilot has a proper kind of legal thing. So he sought his honor that Poolan just told that so he got very upset because of course the also he stopped the car and said what are you doing? He started saying in French and the interpreter had a terrible time. तो Poolan का जवाब नहीं इसको ऐसे खरीदा ऐसे कहा जाता है. And she created a mess in that thing. So that was the Poolan Devi. So I have written such episodes. जो चंद्र स्वामी जी थे वो भी जहाँ मेरे ख्याल से हमारे राजस्थान के थे वो महानारी थे. अब in 1974 and this is also an authentic account by another person from Rajasthan. He has also written about it. So I have attributed to him. So Kuan Ratnawat Singh, who was minister and
again from Rajasthan.
That's from Rajasthan. So he was a deputy high commissioner. So Margaret Thatcher wanted to do some Sultan of Brunei or whichever connection. She wanted to meet Chandra Swami. So Mr. K. Ratnawat Singh was again an interpreter because this person didn't know English about Animation and who was known as Chandra Swami. तो चंद्र स्वामी की जब मार्केट टीचर से मिलने गए तो चंद्र स्वामी ने कहा कि आप कागज के ऊपर कुछ लिख दीजिए. हाँ लिखिए और मैं बता दूंगा. So they were sitting at a distance. So as market teacher wrote something, Chandra Swami answered without looking at the paper. So market teacher thought it's a fluke. Second time again, teacher wrote something. Chandra Swami said it that this is what you have written. अब market teacher was very rattled. Third time she wrote something which she thought that he will not be able to deduct. And Chandra Swami again was spot on both sides. He predicted what she had written. So market teacher developed a lot of interest and of course there was a possibility of time. She said let's meet next time and all. अब now Chandra Swami began. Chandra Swami तो उन्होंने नटवर सिंह से कहा कि मैडम से कहिएगा कि वो मंगलवार को 4:30 बजे शाम को आए. Nutwar Singh coming from a princely state and plus being a diplomat, he said, how can I tell she was below position at that time in Britain? How can I tell her? Then Mr. Chandra Swami went a step ahead. He said, "Mera लाल पोशाक पहन के आए." Now he was totally flabbergasted. So he apologized to her and market teacher could sense it that there is something there and there is awkward. She said, "What is it?" He said, I'm so embarrassed and he's so wrong and so uncouth and all kind of things he said. She said, no, go on. So he said, he's putting this condition on Tuesday 4:30 and he's saying you must wear red and don't just don't care about it. So lo and behold, after when the Tuesday came and the meeting was at Nutwar Singh's house, Nutwar Singh saw Margaret Thatcher walking in and wearing a red dress, Lal Poshak. So he was, and so that day Chandra Swami told her that there was going to be elections, I think in 74 it said there was an election or maybe 75, I'm not really sure. So he predicted some seats, number of seats, that these many seats you will get. And exact number Margaret Thatcher got. You can imagine it, they had written. So there is, that mathematician Shakuntala Devi, she was in the web series also. But there is something, many of you may believe or may not be believers, but I am saying there is supreme power. When you see such people or characters, of course there is a lot of criminal aspects involving Chandra Swami, so I am not holding a brief for him, but there was a limited point because this episode I have written in my book. So this is very interesting about Chandra Swami.
So you would say that he impressed you the best? Out of the leaders, something? I'll ask you that. and with all those biographies and so many things. He has a lot of anecdotes to tell, and he was telling me that I'm more of an anecdotal person. So I think we had a good thing about it. But still, what I was trying to say was that I think it's time also, and you have to start doing something at 6 o'clock. And so, but I would like younger people who are thinking of going into journalism or something, what would you advise them to do, and what you think they should be thinking of before choosing a career of that kind?
देखिए, एक तो अभी as a anybody we actually like stories. I always say, see, the history of our country, history of a political party, history of an individual is very different from story. So, for instance, story of Indian National Congress is very different from history of Indian National Congress. History will say that so and so became Prime Minister, so and so was Congress President. The story will tell you about a lot of things, that what happened, how Sachin Pilot did not become, the Chief Minister, how Ashok Gehlot tripped him, how this happened, that happened. So these are stories that are not part of history. एक अशोक जी की सॉरी मैं आप लोग यहाँ के हैं, राजस्थान में तो मुझे एकदम ध्यान आया. तो अशोक गहलोत was a young, that time he was young, in this time talking about 86 की बात है. राजीव गांधी प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे, तो राजीव गांधी ने सरिस्का में एक कैबिनेट की मीटिंग करने का फैसला लिया. उस जमाने में राजस्थान में ड्राउट आया था, सर सीम्स टू नो दिस. तो राजस्थान में ड्राउट आया था. उन्होंने हरिदेव जोशी जो एक बड़े महान व्यक्तित्व था, वो मुख्यमंत्री थे. तो उन्होंने हरिदेव जोशी को बोला कि जोशी जी, मैं यहाँ कोई तामझाम नहीं चाहता हूँ, सादगी से होना चाहिए और सरकारी वाहनों का दुरुपयोग वगैरह ना हो. राजीव को गांधी को गाड़ी चलाने का बड़ा शौक था खुद, तो उनको एक मेरे ख्याल से जो जॉर्डन के वो थे किंग हुसैन, उन्होंने एक जीप दी थी. राजीव गांधी को जीप दिल्ली से लेकर सरिस्का में आए. सरिस्का में वो दाखिल हुए. एक वो था चौराहा था, चौराहे पे पुलिस वाला खड़ा था. पुलिस वाले ने उनको राजीव गांधी को लेफ्ट टर्न दे दिया. लेफ्ट टर्न में मुड़ जाएगी. राजीव का पूरा काफिला उधर राजीव गांधी का पहुंच गया. वो देखा वो मैदान, और मैदान में 50-60 एम्बेसडर लागे खड़ी थी सरकारी. अब राजीव गांधी तो यंग आदमी थे, वो एकदम अपना आपा खो बैठे. और जब जोशी जी आए तो उन्होंने सीधा सबके सामने देखे, जोशी जी ये क्या है, मैंने आपको मना किया था कि ये हो. जोशी जी को लग रहा था कि वो गाड़ी उनकी मेन्यू में आएगी. तो आज तक इतिहास ये नहीं पता चला कि पुलिस वाले को किसने खड़ा किया था और वो राइट लेफ्ट टर्न किसने दिला दिया. तो वो हमारे जादूगर अशोक जी का कारनामा था. तो वो मतलब बड़े वो जादूगर ऐसे भी कहलाते हैं. वो बहुत रेस्पॉन्सिबल है. वो इंदिरा गांधी के घर में एक्चुअली सच्ची बात है, तो मैंने तो अपनी किताब में लिखा है, जिसको कोई मुझे वो नहीं है. वो एक्चुअली उन्होंने जब ये प्रियंका और राहुल गांधी छोटे बच्चे थे, उनको उन्होंने जादू दिखाया है, उनके सामने परफॉर्म किया है. इनको क्या बिल्ली गिल्ली कुछ करके ऐसे करके बुलाते थे. आप लोग बड़े नॉन ऑफ सेल्फ रिपोर्ट. सॉरी, मैं कहता हूँ यंग माइंड. देखिए, मैं आपको बताऊँ, मैंने जर्नलिज्म तो पहले people were going in journalism with an open mind, and I think there was also journalism who have a general understanding of things and all. But बच्चों, आज अगर किसी को मीडिया या जर्नलिज्म में जाना, any walk of life, please go for, because now the domain knowledge, domain expertise matters a lot. So you see, if you are just a journalist, you are no good. You want to do journalism in finance, journalism in traveling, food, hospitality, anything, or politics, or foreign policy, climate change, environment. There are a lot of aspects are there. But please go with an area of specialization, domain knowledge, because people are looking for that. What is my take home? See, I write a lot of online. Online, nobody reads unless there is some value addition. So whatever you are writing or watching, or even the reels, and why don't you reels also? Because in 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute, you get to know. Nobody wants to watch 1 hour, 2 hours. Yes. So everything. So I'm saying you need to have a domain knowledge. you want to be a nutritionist, you want to be a psychologist, whatever, but domain knowledge is very much important, domain expertise. Please try to develop some kind of specialization, even at an entry level. That is my point.
It's nowadays. So everywhere there is specialization, so why not in journalism? That is the question जो है. अब आपको 10 जगह जाना पड़ता है छोटी सी बीमारी के लिए. Anyway, that is the word which is coming to now. The thing is, anybody who wants to ask any questions or something?
My first question was following up from what Matt said. How honest can you be as a political journalist with parties,
I think that's a very interesting question, a very pertinent one. I think, we need to, beyond the thing about being a defamatory, one can be honest, because something, we have a very absurd privacy laws and there will be different debate, but I think one has to be, accountable to one's own conscience. Like I was told somebody that once I got a chance, I got a story that again coming, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a bachelor, but he had a family. But I didn't write because it was unethical. Everyone knew that he has a sort of a stepdaughter and those small family and they were staying. And by the way, New York Times did that story. Washington Post or New York Times, one of the publications did it about Mrs. Call. But fact is that I didn't know it, and because so there is a thing, there is a no-go area. So privacy needs to be respected. Public figures are public figures, but they are not, something that we should violate that thing. So as far as there is no defamation, one should be candid about it.
Everybody should have a space of their own also. That's very important.
What's your take on Rahul Gandhi? Because I read your little CV with Sonia Gandhi, and you're very close to the family. Sometimes you wonder about this gentleman who seems very genuine, but at the same time his actions sometimes belittle the position that he is holding by actions that he takes. And it's not only the criticism that happens through the political party in power, but generally. And I have conveyed to him through his very close friend that why does he act like that? Now, from your personal knowledge, is he worthy leader of Congress to lead it with so much intelligent young blood there? Or is he hesitant leader of opposition?
So sir, thank you very much for this question. I think these questions come to people's mind, and first of all, a disclaimer, I am not close to the family or him. I have written extensively about them as part of my professional thing. See, I have a thing that Rahul Gandhi is every bit unconventional politician. What scores for him in present or future, this is for people of India to decide. We cannot be deciding whether he is worthy or not worthy. But there is one thing, friends, I want to discuss, and this is something which is not in support of him, but this is what I observed. See, 31st October 1984, Indira Gandhi gets assassinated by security guards. Rahul and Priyanka, both of them were in school. Somebody at 11 o'clock called them and called the principal, and the principal called, they were there in central school that is in the thing, and the principal called them, and of course she didn't bring it. So for hours there was nobody, because Rajiv Gandhi was away in Bengal, and by the time he came after. So Arun Nehru around 2:30 or 3 o'clock realized that we are the children, and so he sent somebody, a security cover. And by the way, 2 days before Indira Gandhi's assassination, there was an attempt at that Golda Khana, just opposite St. Columbus School, and attempt was made to kidnap Rahul and Priyanka. So that was the last day Rahul Gandhi went to school. He was in 8th standard at that time. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All these years, both Rahul and Priyanka, they did not go to school. They studied at home. One tutor would come and the tutor would come. 5 teachers would come every day and give them lessons. This is again, I say, it's not in defense, but children who are young people who are there, and most of you have, children, niece, nephew and all. But these are very formative years for a personality where you learn, you do a lot of azadi in the sense that you experiment with all kind of things. Some people smoke, some people do, some people, you have a wide circle of friends. Rahul didn't have, so he was in a very, I would say secure, but in a very secluded, very isolated thing. Then he went to study abroad, again under pseudo name, under a lot of security cover, everywhere, and a lot of it, we don't know in that sense. I have some idea. Priyanka, of course, went to Jesuit College, and there was, so you see some more, I would say, in terms of interpersonal relations, etc., more semblance of normalcy in the house. So I think those formative years have had some impact on him. Again, I said it's not a question of either defending him or criticizing him, but I just want to give you, because you are enlightened people, just wanted to give you. So this had actually impacted him. So some of the things, as I said, is unconventional. Another thing I see that the family has again, this is my interpretation, I think the family has not had sense of closure about Rajiv Gandhi, because he was very young and he died very young. And why he died, I mean, they are not very they cannot fathom the whole thing. So one of the things they have is that Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister, as you know, and he joined politics in 37, age of 40, he became Prime Minister. So he became very young, and so therefore the thing first deserved and desired, and that's the reason why I think Rahul didn't become a minister during Manmohan Singh. I feel it could have done good to him, he would have gained some experience, etc. But these are the angularities, as one can call it, are there in this character. But in politics, actually in India, people season after 50 or 55 or so, 60. So that's the thing, so this is time, and destiny plays very important role. So they have to do.
Namaste, sir. I just wanted to ask, as a political analyst, what do you or who do you believe, which individuals or groups, young individuals or groups, will have an impact on the future of Indian politics, and what do you see in the future of Indian politics?
I think the future of Indian politics is very bright, because all the limitations that I was telling you about it, still people are voting 80%, 90%, and it is the poorest of the poor who are voting more than people in South Delhi or South Mumbai or in urban centers. Urban center voting percentage is 60%, 65%. But if you go to Bengal, if you go to Northeast, the voting percentage is 80, 90, 95% also. So our democracy is very vibrant. It is some kind of course correction is required. Like I said, muscle power, money power. People join politics during the early days of after independence. Doctors, engineers, teachers, lawyers, people who had roots in society and a sense of service. अब 80s के बाद में सब उल्टे बदमाश ज्वाइन करने लग गए हैं, और people who have money. It's not that there are no. I mean, you look at Palmer in Rajasthan, an independent one, and he came from a youth background. Ravindra Singh Bhatti. You have young and very promising people. In some ways, people find Sachin Pilot also very sort of interesting and fascinating. I think he fought from Ajmer also. But a lot of good people are also there. It's also a profession. It's just that the noble part we attach with it. It is not. It's other definition of politics is that politics is the art of the possible. मतलब यहाँ आप सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. साम दाम दंड भेद, and that is what is happening.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Rasheed. I'm Nitya.
Be quick.
I'm Nitya. I study in the 11th grade. So throughout your talk, you talked a lot about media in India especially. So do you think that the media today has become very polarized, and how do you think Indian media will look like in 10 years?
I think very, very good question, but I think our polity is very polarized. We are becoming, politically, we are becoming a very, intolerant. So as I said, there is no middle ground, and media is actually, unfortunately, reflecting that. So in media also there is, kind of pro-government and there is anti-government, and because there is a whole thing, about the dynamics of, because the media is a secondary industry. It's not a primary industry, so it is heavily dependent on advertisements. Where does advertisement come from? And advertisement. So there's a friend of mine had described once. He was in Ashtak, and he got to interview our friend Ramdev, Baba Ramdev. So he asked Ramdev, he said, "Aapko main Baba Ramdev ko, Lala Ramdev ko?" He lost his job. No, I'm serious, ma'am. I'm serious. He lost his job because he asked this question. He said, "आप Baba Ramdev है, Lala Ramdev है?" Because Ramdev was at one point of time, अभी भी पतंजलि के तमाम
He's a big businessman.
Yeah. So these are the challenges that you don't get to know. So TV, technologically speaking, TV has all of this uplinking, downlinking. You need to be a lot more dependent on government. Print media is not, in that sense, is not so much dependent on, and internet, online portals are lesser. So therefore, you see all the YouTubers and all are making anti-government, noises also. So it's a very, I would say, very chaotic thing, and that's what we do. Thank you very much. That was such a wonderful interaction. Don't ask me, please go ahead.
So as you know, politics is very vast, and many people have different views about it. And you're being a political journalist, you might have had many people and you must have received like a lot of backlash. My question to you is that how did you deal with the backlash?
The same thing. I think this is this is a professional hazard. You see, we don't write. I mean, normally people don't write to please anyone or annoy anybody. I'm telling you, like I'm sitting here, a lot of people think, even my friends in television industry, they think I'm very so to say, pro-communist. It's because my job area, what that I covered, so to say, International Communist Party, and I thought that I should put it to use, and that's what I wrote this book called 24 Akbar Road, and I wrote, of course, Sonia Gandhi's independent biography, is called, published by Penguin, it's called Sonia Biography, because I wrote in 2002-3, when she was, so people were either against her or for her. My idea was to enhance the sort of this thing that people must know the plus or not so many minus points about the person and make up their mind. Now, but people do criticize. If you write against somebody, they put labels. They told armies are there, which target. But that's a professional hazard. When the doctors are treating patients, something happens, then patients become very impatient. Actually,
Yes, patients become impatient. Yes, most of the time.
So it was wonderful. I think I really enjoyed every bit of it. I don't know whether I was of any use to you, but I must thank all of you individually. Very grateful to you. Thanks.
Presentation post ceremony is taking place, is it taking shape? You mentioned your Phulpur constituency. I got a real nostalgic because Phulpur happens to be very close to my place. I belong to Prayagraj. So yes, I've been there. I mean, as a passerby. So I know about it. And recently there was this mafia lord, Atiq Ahmed, whatever. He heard of him? Yeah. Yes. So yeah, he got assassinated in Prayagraj recently. So he was the MP of Phulpur. These are traditional handicrafts reflecting our commitment to supporting local artisans and their craft. Thank you so much.